finished these shorty socks, and then I immediately cast on and finished these shorty socks. So what do you do when you've just finished your shorty sock project, but you're in a shorty sock knitting hyper focus? You cast on another pair. Summer is upon us. So this whole weekend, it's been raining cats and dogs, and now the sun is shining. It's still not super warm outside, but I think the good weather is coming. Good weather is coming. So we need some more shorty socks for summer. I was thinking of making a pair of white shorty socks in like a lace pattern so that they look like white lacy sock, just to do something different. So we're looking for white sock yarn because I don't want to buy any. We're looking for white sock yarn. Now this is not all of my stash. I would say this is like 90% of my yarn stash. Don't want that. Oh yes. Don't think we're going to find what we need here. Oh, it's a little dragon kit. Dennis the Dragon. Ooh, yes. Oh, a sheep's wool and rami, which is like a plant fiber. Which gives it a lot of strength. And then there's no, if I can remember correctly, because this is a problem when you shove stuff in your stash and you don't label things correctly. But I seem to remember that this stuff was strong enough and it doesn't have, there's no synthetic fibers in this. Last week, we were discussing yarn minders. There is a notions company in the US that has a design for a yarn minder, and they've decided to patent it and sort of send other small businesses that sell a similar design cease and desist letters. And I found that slightly annoying. So I had decided to design my own yarn minder and make it available, open source it for everybody. So you can 3D print it or copy the design. That's also fine with me. And I released that video last week. You can watch it if you want to. But this is the design I made. I think I want to improve on it a little bit. So I think all of this is too long. So I'm just going to mark it. And now we can see what the length really should be. So 61 millimeters. So I'm just going to shorten the shaft. I think this length is really good. I just find this strap really boring. I think we can zhuzh it up a little bit. I have some different colored swivel clips. And if you think, Melanie, that's too many swivel clips, that's correct. But I'm going to make some for other people. Don't worry about it. It's not all for me. And I don't like this leather. This is actually a faux leather strap, but I don't find this very comfortable. So I want to make something different for this. I'm planning to use my hand weaving tool. This is something my boyfriend 3D printed for me after we saw a lady using a similar item in the open air museum in the Netherlands, which is an absolute recommendation. So you use this and you put strings in these long holes and in the short holes, and by pulling it up or down you can thread your shuttle through it, and then you can weave small bits of fabric that you can use as belts or straps. So I'm going to make that because I think it's going to make a much more comfortable contraption. So yesterday I did a spot of hand weaving and it resulted into this strap. The only thing is that this is quite a bit thinner than this one. So obviously I need to work on my technique. I do really like these colors. So I'm going to set this aside and I'm just going to try again. I've attached it to my coffee table that contains all my knitting stuff. and I'm sitting on the couch at the moment, and I'm currently threading the loom, and I'm just using a very thin crochet hook to go through the holes. It is, because it was quite thin in the beginning, but it is getting better. I feel like I'm getting into a groove. Here was a little bit of a chunk. I probably pulled it too tightly, but everywhere else seems to be looking a lot better than my first one. So I'm just going to keep at it for a little while. I finished it, and I've what I do is just fold it together and tie a knot and then cut the ends off. And it's so great because you can just use up yarn scraps for this. It's time to cast on for the lacy socks. This is the pattern Mercury Socks by Kim Drotar, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. And I have actually knitted these socks before in the past, but I thought it would be nice to use a white sock yarn this time. Here you can see me on the couch using the yarn minder, because I wanted to demonstrate that it actually works. I don't really recommend using these on the couch because it's just not what they're made for. If you're on the couch, just use a yarn butler. This pattern is really, really nice. It's got a nice lace repeat, very easy to memorize. I really recommend it if you are looking for something that is quite effective and gives a really good lace knit, but is just really not very complicated to learn. I do 2 rows looking at the pattern, and then I've memorized it. I think it's time now to start testing these yarn minders outside. How does this work when you're walking around outside? I'll give you my honest opinion about this. First things first, I love the new strap. This thing is great. It's not perfect, but I love it. Second thing, so I know people love these things, and there are people struggling with them because the yarn gets caught up at the top. And I understand that because that happened to me as well. And I think I understand why. Let me show you how I had it before. And then because you hold it, your arm goes through it, and then the yarn goes up because your hands are higher when you are knitting. So what essentially happens is this. So you can see there's quite some potential for entanglement. My thought is if you put another ring in between where I have the green and the purple minder, my thought is that that situation should be less. Or at least it should be easier to resolve itself with pulling up the yarn. So I think the swivel clasp is the bit where it's easiest for the yarn to get snagged and get stuck. These round clips, the yarn just kind of moves off them. So I feel like, this is my theory, if you put another ring in between the actual minder and the swivel clasp, it will be easier for the yarn to resolve itself and kind of pull the whole situation through and make sure that it's still windy. If you have a swivel clasp that doesn't really swivel all that well, I had that a bit with this one, but if you kind of force it a little bit with your hands, after a while, it gets better and then it swivels nicer. So do that. Obviously, be careful and don't break stuff. and it's not my fault if you do. But that's my that's how I got mine to work nicely. When you get it to work nicely, it's actually quite nice if, and this is another thing, if you can walk and knit at the same time, because you kind of need to look where you're going when you're walking, and you sometimes need to look what you're doing when you're knitting. So lace knitting is not very good for this, unfortunately. But stockinette is fantastic for this. So if you're on a sleeve, that's not complicated. Or if you're knitting a sock snake, that's not complicated. Or just any sort of easy stockinette garter project that's just not a complicated thing to knit, then these are fantastic. So you can get your steps in. We all know, ladies our age, we need to get our steps in. But yeah, that's it. Love them for that. Anything more complicated, it's not useful. It's not useful. It's not a useful tool. What it is useful for, though, is that you can hang this anywhere, basically, if you are in a spot where that makes sense. Like, imagine that you are taking your kids to sports club and you're waiting in the car for them to finish. You can hang this on your mirror, and then when you're parked, when you are parked in your car, you can hang this on your mirror and have your yarn nice and high. And then it's going to be so nice to have it sort of come off the yarn easily. Come off the ball really easily. So they're great for that as well. Another thing I wanted to say is that you do need to use a yarn winder to have your yarn in a cake so that it comes off on the side. Obviously, when you're buying smaller balls of yarn, then it doesn't work because it kind of goes over the side, go over, under, left to right, because it's all spun in different directions. That doesn't work. So you need a yarn cake where you can pull the yarn from the side. But I don't think that's much of an ask, because that's how you would wind your yarn if you're doing machine knitting, for example. Then that's also how you would do it, to make sure that the yarn gets fed into the machine, the knitting machine. Or if you're working from a yarn butler, then you also need to really have a cake so that you can pull the yarn from the side, from the outside. Now, these lace socks, I finished one. It looks great. I love it. The other one is almost finished, but I made a mistake. So now I have to undo a little bit, but not too much, thankfully. Was that mistake made whilst walking with the yarn minder? No, it wasn't. I was just sitting on the couch, and it was the end of the day and I was tired and I made a mistake. But that's fine. That's what we do. That's why knitting is so forgiving. We can just unravel and start again. All fine. I do think I made these a little bit too long. So I'm going to make them again because I have so much of this yarn left. I'm just going to make another pair and make them a little bit shorter. But other than that, I think they're super cute. I really recommend everybody knitting some lace socks because they're just cute. Cute as heck. Cute as heck. So everybody should have some. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll have a lovely weekend. I hope the heat wherever you are is not too bad. It's going to be scorching here in the Netherlands. So we're all preparing for that. I should go out and get some ice cream actually before it sells out. Yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Bye.